Good afternoon, everyone. From Dunrovin Ranch in Lolo, Montana, I have a very special guest, and who's not going to be a guest for long. She's going to be one of us. I'm delighted to introduce you to Julie Cowan. Hi, Julie.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Yes, and she's going to be our creative director, and let me tell you, this is the woman who can do it. She's really bringing our whole level of professionalism up to a whole new game. Let's get a little thumbnail sketch, Julie. You're originally from Iowa. Ohio.
People mix those up too if you're not from the Midwest. Ohio and Iowa, they're interchangeable. People do it all. There's a lot of corn there.
Yeah, a lot of corn.
A lot of corn.
Corn country.
Corn country,
yeah.
Yes.
But
yes.
you are from Ohio.
I am from Ohio. I grew up in Ohio. I'm the last of 7 kids.
And a lot of big brothers, right?
4 big brothers.
Yeah, so you were a bit of a tom girl, were you?
I was a tomboy, tom girl. Yeah, I played. I wanted to play Little League baseball when I was little, and I used to tag along with my brother's Little League games and practices. And I'd go out there and hit the ball and chase it and stuff, and I wanted to play Little League, and I was told, well, girls can't play baseball.
Ah.
But that was before Title IX hit,
right,
you know, and
right.
so they didn't have girls' teams, so technically, we could play, but we weren't allowed to play, I guess, was the play on words there.
Right. Right.
So, but a few years later, they passed Title IX, and our little town of 3,200 people formed a little ponytail girls softball league.
Fabulous.
And that was the start of it. I mean, I'd been playing baseball and all kinds of sports. I've played it all my life, and so I've been active in sports and outdoor activities all my life.
Yeah, I mean, people who say women don't play softball, and baseball, are just, they don't know what they're talking about. I have to tell you my one baseball or softball story. I moved to Kodiak, Alaska, and the only league was the women's league because all of the women had fishermen for husbands.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah,
sure,
and the fishermen are out, right? And so I joined the softball team, and let me tell you, I didn't last long at all. I mean, not about 3
So you and I wouldn't have gotten along?
Oh, we wouldn't have gotten along.
Oh, okay.
I mean, these guys were serious. I mean, serious. And when their husbands were in port, man, I tell you, there was a lot of drinking going on, a lot of, rooting going on, and it was a fun thing. Yeah. So I became the go-to girl.
Well, I was serious, but it was serious fun for me. Yeah. I was one of those that I could be really intense when I'm on with a basketball court, volleyball court, softball, whatever. Really intense when I'm out there, but as soon as we're off the court, it's like, hey,
yeah,
let's go.
Right.
Let's go visit and have a Coke. Because I mean, I was a kid, so you drank Coke back then.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't always Kodiak gals, let me tell you.
Right.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
And they were older, though.
Oh, yeah, we were older. Yeah, that's true. Very much true. At any rate, this launched you on kind of a lifelong enjoyment of sports, did it?
Yeah, sports. And so when I first started out, they wanted me to be, I did actually start out in sports writing for the campus newspaper. I got an opportunity because it was tight, and there was a lot of competition for being on the campus newspaper because it was pretty award-winning. And
which campus was this?
Bowling Green State University in Ohio.
A very prestigious university.
Yeah, good journalism school, and so there was a lot of competition. And I got the opportunity to cover some girls volleyball, and so I did that for a little while, and then I got an opportunity to be on staff there for a little while at the newspaper and wrote some stories. So I spent my college years, 4 years, working at the radio station and the newspaper on campus, and was the news director at the radio station, and interned at a television station, and for my internship. And so I got as much experience as I could in a variety of different ways. I wrote for the yearbook for the
So you graduated with journalism
degree.
Yep. And but then you had this experience with radio, and then a little bit with TV, and that took you to Wyoming, right?
Radio brought me to Wyoming. Yeah, I was working right after college. I had interned in TV. I was working at a television station. I took the job as a television producer of this morning talk show, knowing they were probably going to cancel the show just because locally produced television shows, even now, anytime, very expensive to produce.
Yeah.
And that was at a time, back in the, when was this? Back in the 70s, early 80s, that, and I just dated myself,
You're in good company.
There we go.
Really good company.
Really
here.
good company. I already knew that.
Yes.
I already knew that. But that was at a time when syndicated shows were really starting to take off. And so networks and local TV stations found it very, very lot cheaper to give content to their viewers by buying a program that's been produced elsewhere, and so they pay a small fee rather than paying all itself.
And that's programs and things of that nature as opposed to just the local.
Right.
Yeah.
So I knew that they were probably going to cancel it, but it was good experience. I needed a job.
It took you west.
I slept on my aunt's couch for a few months, and then I saw an ad in Broadcasting Magazine and said, "Oh, that's in Wyoming. Let's see where Wyoming is." It's above Denver. Not. It was above Denver because I have a sister that lives in the Denver area, so I'm like, oh, well, I'll be kind of close to her, and so it was only about 5 or 6 hour drive down to her place.
And then you met
my husband in Wyoming, and we got married, and then from Wyoming we moved up to Missoula, and we've been here for 25 years.
Yeah, I have to tell you, she's thinking of downsizing, and I'm voting against it, as if my vote counted at all. But it's the cutest. I mean, it's not a little house by any means.
It's not a little.
Got all these floors and everything, but boy, it's a cool house.
It is a cool house. It was built. That built it was an architect, and he did a lot of stuff. The story is that when his wife would go away on a trip to see family or whatever, she'd come back and he'd have built something else. That's what our neighbors, so that's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so you raised 2 daughters in this beautiful house.
Yes.
Tell us about them.
Yeah, we moved to that house when my girls were, let me see, they were in high school, freshman and senior in high school. And so most of the time we spent on the old Maloney Ranch here in Missoula. We spent 9 years there, and that's where you could say they grew up.
Yeah.
And that was a great place for them to grow up. Yeah. And then we moved to this house. And so my oldest one turned 30 last year. She'll be 31 this year, and she's getting married this fall.
Yes. And her name is?
Her name is Allison. But professionally, most of the people know her as Allie. And when I talk to her, when she's in a group around her soon-to-be husband's family, they all know her as Allie.
Yeah.
And I will say, I'll address her as Allison, and they look at her, and then they look at me, and then Allison looks at them and says,
old school, huh?
My mom doesn't like Allie. She calls me Allison. And so Allison, she has these, her friends from high school and before all call her Allison. We all call her Allison. Yeah. And her friends, people that she's met from basically college, I don't know at what point they started calling her Allie, because it's short and it's a common, nickname for Allison. And so she just let them call her Allie, and she's gone by that ever since.
So wait till you hear what Allie does.
Allie does. Allie.
I mean, we got to get Allie out here. And why do we have to get Allie out here? Well, give us a little rundown on Allie.
Allie and Mackenzie know one another, actually. I mean, they're not close friends, but they know one another because they run in the same circles. They're both dog trainers. Allison owns Wind River Canine Partners,
which is just south of here.
Just south of here, not very far.
Yep.
Not very far. And loves what she does.
Yeah.
Trains dogs, companion dogs, but she really loves training service animals for people. She's done them for disabled veterans, for people with epilepsy, for people, all kinds of issues. She loves that challenge. She loves what she does.
Important work.
Yeah, it is important work.
Very important, yeah. Those animals are so fundamental to their quality of life.
They are.
Yeah.
And, the funny thing is that for her senior project in college, or in high school, she wanted to train a service dog. She wanted to do that, but they told her that you couldn't have another dog in the house. Well, we had 2 dogs at the time and a cat, and I said, sorry, not getting rid of the animals. You got to find something else. So she did falconry.
Did you hear that? Falconry. So now we have a woman in our midst who trains dogs and has a falcon. I mean, could this be better for us, or what?
She didn't. She didn't want me to come here because of me. She really wanted Alice.
I didn't even know about it. Come on now. But when she told me, my eyes got big, and I said, "Could she bring her falcon over to the ranch?" And she says, "Calm down, calm down."
She was jumping up and down. She was crying. It was
frothing
crazy.
at the mouth.
It was crazy. but she, so she's a master falconer, and she's had many birds over the years. She started out with a little finger falcon, a little kestrel.
Kestrel, gorgeous. We've had them
beautiful.
on the nest.
Yes.
People have seen them. They've got this beautiful plumage, particularly the males.
Yes, the males.
Gorgeous, just gorgeous. They're the
males
smallest birds of prey in North America.
Yeah, she had a little kestrel, and she did have a male, and he was beautiful. And I have some great photos of them. Of course, I've got.
Well, you have to bring them. I mean, come on.
We'll show you at some point. But we can't get them all in this post.
Yeah,
we can't
I know. Yeah, there's too much.
But yeah, she did that, and right now she's got 2 Harris's hawks.
Harris's hawks.
Yeah, she got one, and then she got another one, and they're named Taco is one, and the other one is Chili.
Wow.
Taco and Chili.
Yeah. I've been thinking, if I really am going to try to rope her into all of our nonsense.
I know you will.
Yeah, I have no shame.
I'm shocked.
I have no shame at all. But I thought we should read the book, H is for Hawk.
Oh, yeah.
And have her relate it for us. Because, I mean, it goes into a lot of the training aspects and the ferocity of these birds. I mean, they really are. They're like cola. I mean, they've got a one-track mind.
Yeah, they do. And these, I have to say, these Harris's hawks, because she's had, I can't remember. She's had a red tail, a couple of red tails. She actually rescued a red tail. She caught it by her bare hands.
Really?
Because it was hurt. Someone had shot it.
Oh.
Which really ticked us off.
Yeah.
And shot it, and it had a BB in its wing. It had a broken wing, and it had one in its chest.
Oh dear.
So it really couldn't fly,
right.
And it was kind of malnourished. It was pretty weak. So she actually just kind of walked up to it and did this.
Right.
So she rehabbed it.
Right.
And trained it. It was a great bird, and she released it back into the wild.
Oh my goodness! What a great story!
Yeah, it's great. It was.
We're going to get. You're the journalist here. Come on, you can see where this is going. but okay, let's get to Kelsey now. Kelsey has given you a big gift.
Oh, a big gift. Yes,
big gift.
She's our youngest one, and she and her husband got married in 2017, and they were planning to wait about 4 years before they had a baby, but God had other plans.
Yeah.
And along came baby Sage. A little over, let's see, they were married in September, and so 2 months after their first year anniversary, baby Sage came along, and she's a delight, of course.
And you get her a day a week, do you?
A day a week. I watch her on Tuesdays, which is why we have to record this and play it, because I have baby Sage, and she's trying to talk me into bringing baby Sage, and I told her that you have no idea what havoc she could wreak.
Oh, no, I'm all for it.
She is a good baby, but it would be, good luck, James, running the camera and trying to follow us around here.
Yeah.
But we'll do it at some point.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe. We'll
That's
see.
great. That's very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, her talents don't stop there, ladies. Not at all. No. She's a photographer. I want to know. You've never explained to me how you got into photography.
I kind of always have been into photography. I like taking photos as a kid. My dad took photos when he was in. After World War II, he served in World War II, and he used to take a lot of slides. So I was always fascinated in looking at those slides. I mean, he didn't go out and take landscapes and stuff. He would just take them of our family.
Right.
But I always took photos, and then I got into, in high school, I was on the newspaper staff and the yearbook staff, and it just kind of was a gradual thing. I just loved the art of it. As a kid, I always loved drawing, and coloring was one of my favorite things, even as an adult. When the girls were little, you'd see me down on the floor with a coloring book with them. I loved that. It was great.
Oh, yeah.
So anything artistic, I love that. So photography for me is capturing that moment in time, but also doing it with an eye for art.
Right.
So that's how I got into
And
that.
emotion. I've looked
Emotion,
at many,
for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
it really comes through.
Yeah.
You're very talented
Well,
on that.
thanks.
Yeah.
I paid her a lot of
and
money to
again,
say that.
doesn't stop here either. I mean, this art interest doesn't stop with photography. You should see some of her greeting cards. Unbelievable. And they're just terrific. And with a wicked sense of humor. And I have to tell you, the Donkey Divas are in trouble. I think their Donkey Divas are in trouble. I think this woman's going to be showing the real Donkey Divas.
The first you got from me
That's right.
was a donkey that I had done before I met her. I didn't know who. I mean, I knew who she was, but I mean, I had not met her personally.
Yeah.
And so after I came out to talk to her about getting involved with Dunrovin, I sent her a card and it had a donkey on the
Yeah.
front.
Oh. So tell us about your cards. You do them for all occasions?
I do them for all occasions. I actually made my daughter the one with Baby Sage's mom for their wedding. I made their wedding invitations. That was a lot of work, and I had a lot of help from friends.
Hand work. I mean, these are
Yes.
these are hand done. These are, I mean, she's a terrific graphic artist, so she can do cards with Photoshop and with all of the computer work. But we're talking hand cards where they're three-dimensional, where they've got ribbons on them. I mean, they're works of art. They're really beautiful.
Fun, and that's kind of my stress release. It's my happy place,
Yeah.
Like when you go for a horse ride, that's
Right.
your happy place.
Right.
My happy place. Creating.
Right.
And so I've done that for actually since before my oldest daughter was born, so I've been doing it for over 30 years.
Right.
It's just, of course, those cards back then I wouldn't let you look at. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like anything.
Yeah.
Your talent evolves, and your
Right.
skill and your experience evolves, and ideas. And of course, now we have Pinterest and the internet,
yeah.
and you get all kinds of ideas.
Yeah,
from
but I don't think
kind of
that
stuff, too.
quite translates to these cards that are, that have texture and different textures, and they're kind of three-dimensional. They're interesting. But you also do this with people to help them scrapbook, do you not?
Yeah, I've done some scrapbooks for folks. I create them digitally because for me it's faster and it's cheaper to do them digitally.
Right.
A lot of people do regular, which is great. It took me 30 years to scrapbook my wedding. I gave it as a gift to my husband a few years ago, and said, "Well, it took me 30 years to get." But scrapbooking wasn't a big thing back then,
Right.
and I got into digital scrapbooking really well before I got into regular scrapbooking. But I still prefer to do digital. Apparently Gertie has a
comment.
She has a comment.
Yeah.
She wants to comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's really happening is Chris is over there
Yeah.
and Levi. They know what that means.
They know what that means. That means
Dinner's
food.
next.
Dinner
Yeah.
is coming up. Here we go.
That's right.
That's right. Dinner's
Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like doing digital scrapbooks, but I've done photo books for people that have wanted, maybe a loved one that has passed away or is, getting up in years and they want to get the family photos. I've done a few books for that.
So I've got ideas, you guys. Ideas, Give me.
There's lots of ideas to keep me busy.
That's right. That's exactly right. But I was just sort of thinking, a lot of our members take wonderful screenshots of Harriet and of our ospreys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so I was thinking you could walk us through, everybody take their own screenshot, whatever they like, and then we could make some osprey cards and send them to each other.
We could.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, okay. And that doesn't stop there. We're not finished by any means. You also have been the editor and the writer for several magazines that really dealt with the things that we're interested in, wildlife.
Right.
Yeah.
I worked for the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation for about 10 and a half years, and I was the editor, and I did a fair writing for their, they called it a newsletter, but it was a pretty big newsletter. I called it a news magazine. It was 24 to 36 pages.
Yeah.
And it came out quarterly. It went out, and some of you may know people who are involved with the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. It's all over the United States, and obviously it's probably more concentrated out west here because of elk being more, but we do have some herds back in the east now.
Yeah.
But I was the editor for that for about 10 years. And went out to 10,000 plus volunteers. They're the ones that did the fundraising for the Elk Foundation, but they also did a lot of habitat work and on-the-ground work, habitat enhancements, things like that. And then I currently do copy editing for the Boone and Crockett Club, which is another conservation organization. Theodore Roosevelt was a founder.
Yes. In fact, it was the first conservation organization in the United States.
Right.
It's really the father of the National Wildlife Federation, and many people know that about the Boone and Crockett Club, but the Boone and Crockett Club has its national headquarters here in Missoula.
Here in Missoula.
Yeah, and it's a very prestigious organization, and they've done a heck of amount for wildlife.
Oh, they've done. It's amazing the work that they've done, and they still are out there working hard. And so I do their magazine, which comes out quarterly, and other publications for them. I do editing for them. I really don't do writing for them, but I mean, in the course of editing, you do a little writing, but most of it just editing for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but her talents don't stop there either. I mean, this woman is an exercise instructor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So 4 or 5 times a week at the Women's Club?
I teach 7 classes a week.
7? My
7.
Goodness.
I need to cut that down, but I teach 7 water aerobics classes at the Women's Club in Missoula.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, if you want to talk about being inspired, those women are the ones that inspire me. There are women in there that range anywhere from, I've got younger women up to, younger meaning in their 20s, and women that are in their 80s.
Yeah.
I even had a woman, she just stopped coming because she was getting a little frail, but she celebrated her 90th birthday a couple years ago, and was coming every week.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about inspiration.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine who's a retired ER doc, and her motto is, motion is lotion.
Yeah.
And it's true, because the older we get, we get some arthritis.
Right. Easy to sit around.
And I'm telling you, on days, and you probably notice this too, on days when you're sitting at your computer and you're doing stuff all day long, and then you go to get up, you're walking like this.
Yeah.
You got to move. You got to get up and move and lubricate those joints, and that's what movement does, is lubricate your joints. So.
And of course, the water it takes the jarring out, so it really saves your joints.
It does.
From all of that. And I quickly pointed out to Julie that we have water here at Dunrovin. We have the Bitterroot River.
Right
so she happily suggested that we use her this summer for a water aerobics. No. Oh, we'll see. We'll just have to see. I don't know. Some of you, I'm sure, remember when we had a yoga instructor here, and I did yoga with him in the orchard at 7 in the morning. I'm just thinking, I'm just laying the seeds. Let it grow where it'll grow.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll let that seed sit right there.
Okay, dormant, right?
Dormant.
Okay. Well, so tell us your first impressions of this crazy place and this whole crazy operation.
Well, Dunrovin, what I love about it is it's so close to Missoula.
Yeah.
I mean, for some people that may not be a drawing card, but it is, because you can be involved in the community. You can take the divas out very close by, and people can see them. People can get here. It's very here.
Yeah.
It's right along the Bitterroot River. Along the Bitterroot River when we first moved to Missoula, so I have an affinity for it.
Right.
But she's the one. I'm telling you, if you haven't been here, you have to, Suzanne. I think she wrote something about me, something like, I was a force of nature. No, she is the force of nature. She runs rings around all of us, and I think I'm busy until I come here and talk to her and find out all the things she's doing. You're a crazy woman.
Well, no. Crazy, I love that. Take crazy.
Crazy good. Crazy good.
Yeah, crazy is a good thing to be. I have no shortage of interests, and I love this place, and I love communicating with our members, and I love what we do here. I love the animals, and you're just going to fit right in here in every way that I can think of,
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's great. It's been a lot of fun so far.
So, James, if you're up there in the broadcast studio, let's get the new logo up. I mean, this is something, and let's just talk about how we developed. Okay, she's been down this road with a lot of people, haven't you?
I've done a few logos, but I haven't. I've been involved in, like, from your end of it, probably more often, and it can take on a life of its own. It does take on a life of its own.
Yeah.
And when we were looking at the originally, we were just kind of just chatting about it, and said, I really didn't like it. I wanted it updated.
Right.
And so this sort of just started. I just sent her, I said, how is this for an idea starter? And I sent her an idea, and it went from there. And we went through, oh gosh, we worked on that for probably 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, well, we were at it.
Yeah, I mean, not constantly, but you know, you set it, you look at it, you play with it a little while, and you know. You
have to let it for a while and see how it feels.
Yeah, and so we the thing that Suzanne wanted to make sure that we included it was the brand, because that is the identifier for the ranch.
Yeah, and by the way, those of you who don't know, this is a registered brand with the state of Montana. It's a livestock brand, and in this particular case, it is a right shoulder equine brand. In other words, somebody could use that same symbol, but not on the right shoulder of an equine. It would have to be on the rump or the neck or someplace else.
Right.
And just for those of you who don't know me, recognize please that when I brand my animals, I do it with what's called a cold iron, and that is they shave the hair and they put the branding iron in nitrogen liquid and then apply it to the animal, and he doesn't feel a thing. They don't feel anything.
That's nice to know.
Yeah, and what it does do is that it kills the color in the hair follicles. The hair comes back, but without color. And so it's a permanent brand. And the reason, of course, I brand animals is you take them out into the backcountry and you want that brand, because somebody finds that horse, they can take it right back to you.
So when she takes Julie out in the backcountry and Julie falls off the horse and the horse runs away, you can still find the animal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There you go. So let's talk about this brand. I'm thinking that James has it up on the screen, and he's got the colored version of it. And there's a bunch of things I love about this brand. Why don't you talk us through all of the things that you and how you did this and what they represented to you?
Well, first of all, you have this up on the screen. So okay. So first of all, the brand logo was going to be the prominent one,
right?
And we put it over. We put it over the left. We kind of played with it, larger, smaller, whatever. But the next thing I did was find a font that looked unique. The font you had before was very ranch-like, and it was good for that.
Right.
But because we were developing days at Dunrovin, you were going to be reaching out, and other besides people that just out at a ranch are going to be involved in this.
Right.
So I wanted it a little more updated, and we found this font with this fun little R going under the O, which gave it this nice little. It's artsy. I like. That's why I liked it.
It has a little hint of femininity too.
It does.
And I like that. Yeah.
And we did it with a serif font, so we had those nice crisp lines that defined it on the top and the bottom.
Right.
And then the next thing I did was I threw in this, we refer to it as the squiggle line. I referred to it as a squiggle line, I think. And then, we're like, oh yeah, they like the squiggle line. And then it was, oh, let's put a horse in there. Well, we have a horse because it's Dunrovin Ranch, right? Well, then we have to have an osprey because that's really kind of how this whole concept started.
Right.
And because there are trees around here and mountains, we threw in another line to denote the mountains, and that was really, I did that on a whim. That was like the last thing I threw in. And Suzanne was like, oh, yes, we've got the mountain and the river. And then at the very last, we put in the cabin and we had a tree there.
We had a tree.
We threw a cabin in at the very last.
Yeah, because people are part of it too.
People are part of it too.
Right.
And when you talk about the history, if you haven't read about the history of the ranch, you need to read the history of the ranch and how she came to the name of Dunrovin, and it's that cabin.
That's
in your family,
cabin,
the Dunrovin cabin, and so that really kind of brought that all full circle. So it was a process of yin and yang, and it was me going, I want a logo that's a little simpler. And then we talked about this, and Suzanne says, well, so what would you do differently? And I said, honestly, nothing. This says everything that we need to say about Dunrovin. We've got the mountains, we've got the river, horses, osprey, there are trees, cabins, the brand. it covers everything.
And people will be interested to know, where did you get the silhouettes of the horse and the osprey?
Oh, I created those from photos from right here at the ranch.
Right. So the horse you're looking at there is Whiskey.
Whiskey.
Yep. And the osprey is, of course, none other than our Harriet. So this is very meaningful to me, and I really want to thank you for working with me on this and creating this. It was
You're
wonderful.
welcome. It was great.
Yeah. So I'm going to close this for now. Julie will be on the chat. We'll go get her on the chat, all hooked up, so she can chat with you. And don't believe a word she me, by the way. I'm just so thrilled to have you here, Julie.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah,
it's going to be fun.
We're going to have a lot of fun together and a lot of fun with you guys. So thank you for joining us. And with that, we'll wave goodbye. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye. That was great.
Good. Oh, puppy dog.